Hey pen people. As great as fountain pens are, sometimes you just need a ballpoint pen to help you get the job done. And today I want to show you 3 ballpoint pens that I actually get really excited about using. These are all pens that I find myself reaching for often, sometimes instead of my fountain pens, especially when using a fountain pen for some reason just wouldn't be ideal. Now, none of these brands are paying me to make this video, but I do have affiliate links for all 3 pens as well as promo codes for 2 of them. So if you watch this video and decide you want to pick up one of these pens, you can use the affiliate links if you want to, but no pressure. I mostly just want to talk about some really cool pens. Pen number 1 is the most widely known of the 3, so you may have heard of it. And this one I bought with my own money a couple of years ago, and it is the Retro 1951 Tornado Rollerball. Because it's a rollerball, its writing is going to be wetter and more fluid than your typical ballpoint pen, but I'm still including it in this video. The refill it uses is one of those Parker style refills, so it's a very universal size and you can put whatever you want in here. So I've actually used this more with a Parker brand ballpoint refill than I have with the rollerball refill it came with. And I love that the refill size is so universal because if you look at the reviews of the Tornado, one thing I've noticed is that most of the negative reviews have to do with the refill, not the pen itself. While it's smooth and inky, much like a fountain pen, sometimes if you get an unlucky one, it can be prone to skipping, which can be frustrating. And I've even noticed that this bleeds more than some of my fountain pens do on sheet paper. A lot of people love this refill, which is why Retro keeps using it in their pens, but I honestly wish they would switch over to one of the refills I'm going to talk about later in this video, which is mind-blowingly good. Now, don't get me wrong, I do like this pen, that's why it's in this video, but I like it better as a standard ballpoint than as a rollerball with the included refill. But it's an easy switch to make, and the pen itself is durable, functional, and really pretty. The edition I have is their classic lacquer in ice blue. It's one of their cheaper models, and it is pretty, but compared to some of their more elaborate designs, this is actually kind of one of the boring ones. They have a lot of pens that are licensed with different companies. Some of their pens have cool designs etched right into the pen body itself. You can get a pen with bees on it, you can get a pen that looks like an airplane, and on and on. I also really love the turn knob, which is the mechanism to open and close the pen. It's really cool. It's got this knurled texture on the sides that help you grip it. And on top, it's got a little finial insert here with a ice blue that matches the pen body, but there's some clear plastic over it that gives it some nice depth, and it's really pretty actually. Some people complain about not being able to open this pen with one hand, and I get that. There's some resistance as you're turning this. It doesn't turn super easily, which is probably a good thing. That way you don't accidentally have it open up in your pocket or something. But it is more of a two-handed approach. I can do it with one hand without too much trouble actually, but I think it took me some practice, and I can see how that's not going to work for everybody. And yeah, overall I really like the opening mechanism on this pen. I think it's a really fresh take on the traditional twist to open ballpoint pen. And I believe that the Tornado is so named because of the way it tapers from wide at the top to narrow on the bottom. It's a very top-heavy design. And it's cool that way. I think it looks good, and I think that's why they call it a tornado, because it has almost kind of a conical shape to it. I've heard some people complain that that makes the pen feel back-weighted in the hand, and while a lot of the pen's weight is in the top of the pen is light enough that I don't really feel bothered by the weight distribution. And yeah, overall the Tornado is a solid pen with a lot of personality. Up next we have the Bastion bolt action pen. Wait, what's going on here? I forgot the pen. Sorry, I'm in the process of moving, and so it's currently at my old house, and I'll make sure there's lots of B-roll footage of this pen. Okay, so Bastion sent me this pen about a year ago to review, and if you want to see that full review, you can. I'll put a link up here as well as in the description. This pen comes in a lot of different metals and finishes. My particular pen is made out of titanium, and it rocks. I love this thing. It feels really good in the hand. The tolerances in manufacturing were really tight. And it's just a lot of fun to use, especially with that bolt action mechanism. At first I thought the bolt action thing would just be kind of a fidgety gimmick thing, but it's actually pretty functional. Along with just being cool, it's easy to open with one hand, and unlike a little clicker fountain pen, it's not going to open up in your pocket. This pen is only going to open if you want it to. One possible drawback of this pen is that I found the titanium to be a little bit heavy. It's lighter than their steel version is going to be, but titanium in this size of pen is still kind of on the heavy side. I find it pretty okay to use, but if you're not a fan of heavy pens, they do have aluminum versions which are much lighter. I love the refill in this pen, but it's Actually, not the refill I said I would talk about later. That's still coming, but I do love the refill that came with my bolt action pen. It's so smooth. It requires little to no pressure to use, and it's just a joy to write with. But the perplexing thing is that a while back, Bastion sent me another pen to review, and the refill in that pen was completely different. This time I opted for one of their slimmer pens, and I got it in anodized aluminum. The pen is fine, but I don't like it as much. The slimmer profile as well as the anodized finish make it really slick in the hand, and the refill is just not the same as the other pen that they sent me. The refill is fine, but it feels more like a Bic than like a luxury ballpoint pen. I don't know if I just got a dud on the second refill or if they changed suppliers or what, but that was my experience. But like the Retro Tornado, this uses a Parker style cartridge, which is very easy to find. So if you don't like the refill that comes in here, you can shop around online and find something that you'll like better. Anyway, the titanium version of this ballpoint pen has been my go-to ever since I got it. I've been carrying it with me almost everywhere. And that only changed very recently when I got this pen, which we'll talk about next. But before we do that, if you want to support my YouTube channel and help it grow, the best thing you can do is just to hit the like button. That's it. Thanks for your support. Okay, last but not least, this is the Andhand method. Andhand recently sent me a fountain pen and a ballpoint pen to review, and in my last video I reviewed the fountain pen version of the method, and in this video we're going to take a look at the ballpoint version of the method. This pen is so classy. It comes in a couple of different finishes, including a raw brass finish, which is really cool. My particular one is a matte black, which I really like, especially with this little band of brass sticking out there as like a little color accent. I think that's so classy. I love that. And I love how simple this pen is. The barrel is one solid piece. There's no threading, screws, seams anywhere. It's just one solid piece of metal. And if you open it by taking off that twist mechanism on top, you can actually see that that little band of brass is actually a much larger hunk of brass. This is solid metal. It's actually kind of heavy. So even though this pen looks classy, and it is, it's also kind of a tank. But despite having all of that metal at the top of this pen, it is wonderfully balanced. It doesn't feel back weighted at all. And the weight of the pen in general is noticeable, but it's far from being too heavy. I think they struck a really nice balance as far as the weight is concerned. I also love the shape of it. It tapers down to the point much more like a pencil than typical ballpoints that I'm used to seeing. Depending on where you hold it, that steeper angle may present a little bit of a challenge, but for me, I've made it work and it works pretty well. I actually like using this pen quite a bit. And here's where we get to the refill I mentioned earlier, because this pen has by far the best ballpoint refill I have ever used. And surprise, surprise, it's another Parker style refill. So for the most part, you can mix and match refills from the different pens that I've shown you today. The only exception is that the Rollerball refill that the Tornado comes with has a different head to it, so it doesn't really fit in all ballpoint pens, but your typical Parker ballpoint refill will fit in the Tornado. So hopefully that makes sense. Anyway, the refill in here is the Schmidt EasyFlow 9000. I don't know if it's considered to be a Rollerball refill or one of those low viscosity ballpoint refills, but either way, this thing is amazing. It's smooth, it's dark, it's reliable, and from my experience, it doesn't bleed, doesn't skip, and it's just been really great to use. When the day comes that I need to buy some more ballpoint refills, this is the kind I'm gonna buy. And come to think of it, I should link these in the description as well. So if you're interested, there will be an affiliate link to those refills. Okay, one little quirk of the method is that when I've got the ballpoint extended and it's time to close it, sometimes I've twisted it a little too far and started to fully open the pen, which can be a little bit annoying. There is some good feedback to tell you when you're done. But if you're not paying attention, it's easy to push past that point and just continue opening the pen. So maybe a little quirky that way. I don't know. It's not a deal breaker. I've gotten used to it, but that's just something I noticed. I've also noticed that the grease that they put on the twisting mechanism can sometimes creep up and gunk up the brass that shows above the seam of the pen. But I'm not noticing it as much now as when I first got the pen, so I'm wondering if maybe they just put on a little too much, or maybe they put it on a little too high, or maybe there's just a slight break-in period with this pen, but I'm not really noticing that issue anymore. And it wasn't really much of an issue to begin with, I guess. It was just something I noticed that was odd to me, but it never got in the way of me using the pen. It never made a mess. It wasn't getting on me or my stuff. It just was kind of odd to me. But like I said, I've been using this pen for a few weeks and I don't really notice that anymore. And yeah, this is an awesome pen. That's why I've been carrying it constantly for the last few weeks. It's been really, really great. I love it and I plan to continue using it. It's classy, it's durable, and it has a great refill. Now, the other best thing you can do to support my YouTube channel is just to watch another video. This one here is one of my favorites. I put a lot of work into that video, but if that one doesn't appeal to you, YouTube seems to think that you might like this video. Thanks for watching. Some of their pens have cool designs etched right into